Hey, Stella. Hey, Jay.
Hello.
You guys are seeing us and hear us. Why don't you give us a shout out in the room? Let us know all is well with our multi-presenter webinar today. Hey, Bill. All right. Tim confirmed he can hear us. So I guess we'll start it off like what a year.
Is anybody getting echo with Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, getting some echo with you, Lisa.
Now we can't hear you.
Good. I'm not the only one that had audio problems. All right.
She was fine till you cleared up.
How's my audio sitting in the car?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
All right, cool.
All right, how am I now? Is it better?
Yeah, that's better.
Better.
Great, awesome. Yes, we all need a fancy mic like Jay. Why can't we all be like Jay? He looks professional
official.
Right now. Our official. Who moved my slide? There's no slides. There's just a thank you. There's a beginning and an end. And then I'm going to shut this slide deck off. Here we go. Welcome.
Right.
Now we're all in the room. So let's get started here. What a year this year has been. The PhotoDay broadcast studios coming soon. That's right, Tim. Awesome. So I guess we wanted to pull everyone together today and just kind of share what our experiences have been through this most challenging year of 2020. I mean, who would have ever forecasted that that there's nothing to photograph, right? And then we had to scrounge for what we can get, and then we had to adapt and change the workflow and the process to actually accommodate whatever we could possibly to get. So that's the kind of today we're going to recap what everyone's done one by one, and then hopefully and share any ideas that we have moving into 2021 that COVID has taught us, that this whole experience this year has taught us. We're running leaner. I think some of a lot of studios out there have gave up a physical location. If you had a physical location to cut expenses, and you're looking more at automation and workflow, not just for your sales and marketing, but for photographing and editing photos all the way to delivery. It's almost like everyone's doing this run lean exercise and what can we do moving forward, and then we have to keep the organizations and the customers happy all at the same time. So with that said, Jay, I'll let you kick it off and go one by one around the room and see what we got going on.
Is Brian still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just quiet.
Okay. Well,
I'm seeing my face, so
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to just give a brief introduction of everybody so you can kind of have an idea of what everybody's role, what they do in the industry. And we'll start with Brian because I think Brian's on limited time. So let's start with Brian Durinsky. He's in Missouri, Midwest. First of all, Brian, tell us about what's going on there as far as can you do business or not?
I can do business. It's I've got 4 swim teams in the next 2 weeks that I'm working on. Business is still schools are still running. We're still in a hybrid method, which is 2 days in, 1 day virtual, and then 2 days off. So basically they break it up in terms of alphabet. So A through K goes Monday, Tuesday. The rest go Thursday, Friday, and then you've got 1 day in the middle where it's mandatory online. So we're still doing sports because we still have in-school kids actually in the building. So I got several things lined up for spring if we can stay going through spring. I'm doing volume sports. That's my primary business. Seniors have been sporadic this year. I haven't had a ton of seniors. Usually I get most of my seniors through my spring sports, which were non-existent. So that kind of wiped out seniors for me. So.
And your workflow.
Anyway, that's what's going on here in Missouri.
Are you doing mostly green screen? But of course, your seniors, you don't doing green screen though, right?
No, I don't think green screen on seniors unless they want something custom or some kind of a different look, or I want to play. Sometimes they let me play, but no, I do mostly green screen for sports. I have a few that I do just traditional. So, but most of the high schools are requiring some sort of separated process where they can keep people separate. Even teams that practice together. I've got 2 different schools, high schools, that their swim teams practice together. They have the same coach. They actually can't practice together now. So they're separating the schools now, so that if one school, team member gets it, doesn't transfer to another school. So,
all right. Well, all right. So, you guys can get to cheat a little bit because I'm gonna ask questions and you get to think about it. We're gonna bombard Brian with all the questions first.
Okay.
All right. So, but with your actual workflow, you didn't have to make a lot of changes to your green screen, right? I mean, the only thing you had to do is maybe schedule people out a little bit longer, so that way you wouldn't have everybody in one room at a time.
Right. I schedule people a little bit further apart. I put up some mats now that are 6 feet apart, or I take off a section, block on the ground. But really, my process was already pretty COVID compliant because of the separation and doing virtual.
So
that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, now 2020. We want to know what changed with the business. Did it? Like I said, I don't think much changed except you schedule things out a little bit. Did you do anything with staff? Is you have the same amount of staff, or how's that going?
I'm a one-man show, so same amount of staff. How I contact leagues and stuff is slightly different. I can't go and visit anymore, so there's no to fix it out code and to blow what you want. So
okay. All right. Well, Brian, we love you, but your audio is terrible.
Yeah, so. we got to kick you out, Brian.
I'll be right. I'm going to come back.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay.
How do I redo this?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go around the room quickly.
Oh, hey, how's that? Is that any better?
That sounds better.
Yeah, I think it's your connection, though, because you're frozen on the screen, too.
Yeah, we can't see you. Down there in Tampa, when it's a freezing 40 degrees, right? Terrible.
It's cold today.
I think it's 53.
So we have 3 people from Florida right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. And then Becky just left. So Becky's from Florida, too. All right.
Maryland, so I can leave. I have no basketball season. All my basketball leagues
already. They're already gone.
Oh yeah, they're gone. Well, they're gone because I do rec leagues predominantly. Right. I don't have any travel, but I am. That's where I'm pivoting. I'm going to start marketing to travel leagues because I've always considered myself this huge volume photographer, and I don't really want to go out and do 1 or 2 travel teams because I always focused on the volume. But now I need to, if I want to do anything, I'm going to have to go after markets that I don't typically do. So, so I am, but yeah, I'm shut down there mainly because schools are shut down, and that's where all my wrestling and basketball, that's where they play. So if kids can't even go into school, they're not going to let the recreational sport leagues into the school. And so that's kind of where I am with that. And I do schools as well. And luckily I got all of my private schools except for one done this fall. I have another March, but they're closer.
Good. I'm multitasking at the second, so bear with me.
Hold on a second.
Oh, right, I just cut her audio off. You're good.
Cut her off, Lisa. Yeah. Cut her off. All right.
But yeah, so I have some promising schools for the spring, but we'll see how that goes. But
in Maryland.
So yeah, in Maryland. So we'll see. I don't know if my public schools are going to actually have pictures this year. I have no idea. I do have them scheduled because I usually do spring photos for them, but they're actually going to be like their yearbook photos because we didn't do a fall. So I do have them on a schedule, but I'm not counting on it. Like 2 of them are in February, and I don't see it happening. Mm-hmm. So I just have to go with it. So yeah, that's where I am.
All right. So, Sue-Ann, she's in Florida, in Tampa. How are things going there? Actually, did you get everything in the fall?
We got most everything. There's a few private schools that we do that had outbreaks that they were like scheduled the next week, and they called us and said, you don't want to come right now. So they've been pushed back to the spring. But all of our daycares, we've noticed a drop in kids, like the parents aren't sending them, but they're there, they're doing. We've been shooting since we shot a lot of spring in June and July, about, a good handful. And then we started our fall in August, and we've been steadily, shooting. I've had to reduce assistants, and so I've been working in the field more with my photographers as an assistant and doing all the other stuff too that I normally do. But
so you're the assistant?
I'm the assistant. Yes.
Okay. That's
I'm
great.
the assistant now. I wear many hats. What would you
say is like the percentage of sales you would say that you maybe lost compared to last year because of COVID?
Compared to last
because of
year?
PhotoDay, because of COVID.
Because of COVID, I've lost 3/4 of my income.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I lost a huge chunk.
Wow.
So that's why I am now helping in the field and doing all the stuff I used to outsource. I'm doing all of that, and I let my studio go because the expense and so forth. So we thin things down, but yeah, it's been a huge chunk.
Wow. I didn't realize it sounded like it pretty positive, but I guess the kids not coming to school.
Yeah. I mean, we're rebounding pretty good. But that is the one place I'm noticing that the amount of kids are not there. And we're talking preschool. So it's, they're just keeping them home is basically what they're doing. They're not sending them. But other than that, the kids that are coming, we are getting,
yeah, you're selling.
We're selling, and we're selling
that percentage
good.
hasn't gone down. It's just that the kids aren't showing up.
Right.
There's nothing there's nothing you can do.
Right.
So the question, Brian, I don't know if you heard, is like what sort of percentage do you think of sales that you've lost COVID related this year? I know Stella's probably at 90% since she's had to change the locations, but what's it look like for you there, Brian? Oh, Brian's cut out again.
I've lost. You still hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Yep. Now we can
All right,
hear you.
cool.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I've lost about 60%. I had a couple of spring sports that I managed to shoot before we got shut down, but typically I get 70 to 80% participation rate out of those, and I'm at 30. So there's a lot of meat left on the bones on that particular job that people just weren't buying because all of a sudden their sport got shut down and they weren't interested in buying photos. So
yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. So if the season's halfway, then they're just not going to buy. All right, Becky, I've heard that you're on a bit of a comeback here in the fall. So tell us, how's it going there for you?
You got to turn your mic on.
Oh, you have to turn your mic on.
Sorry, I was trying to be all good, and then anyways,
yeah,
things. Not trying to brag because I know there's a lot out there that's really struggled, but we have actually done really good numbers. In fact, November is our highest season ever on PhotoDay.
Right.
And
that's awesome.
We, as soon as we started seeing the COVID and situations of that nature, we lost 2 schools that we do senior banners and things for that we lost graphically, but completely due to COVID. Their sales weren't like out of this world. It was more completely a graphic. This did. So that was a good chunk we missed there, losing those. But we picked up doing underclass photos. I tested those waters. We also did senior pics at another school, and then I dipped into the area. And I felt that this was a great time to actually go out and capture those other markets that that are out there that we just didn't touch. And what's really unique is we do primarily private schools. So we could pick up all 3 of those sectors within those private schools that we're only doing sports for and graphic work. So we tested them at 3 different locations so that we weren't like sink or swim. I have to say that I reached out to all of the other Trailblazers, and everybody's been a huge help in little things that they all have done. And it's really just, Stella helped me with the posing for the underclassmen, and then Sue Ann helped me with the preschool. And actually it got to the point, I actually went on our PhotoDay chat to our Facebook page because I needed some culling and color correcting, and just like there wasn't enough of me to go around. Really interestingly, we were able to actually bring on more people because we have the market to, now that we've looked into those, we now can pull that work in. And so I used to be a 1-person show, but there was just not enough of me to,
Got
so
it.
now
All right. Well,
is that
you broke up a little bit there, but okay. So one thing I want to point out is I know like Becky just had her best month ever at PhotoDay. And if I was in a state, if I was in Michigan or Minnesota or any of those places that are shut down, I'd be kind of pissed about that too. I wouldn't want to hear it. So given that we understand that, I think that the whole point of this is like, how can we grow using the tools that we have with PhotoDay? And if you have photographers out there that are working and are, being successful using the platform, hopefully you guys that are completely shut down can kind of get something out of that and know that, in 2021, yes, PhotoDay does work. Selling online does work if you use these tools in order to grow. So you do have some photographers out here that are kind of still experimenting and finding out what works well, even in a crazy time. And hopefully that'll give you some sort of thing to look forward to. We're not definitely those places that we're open. We're not trying to brag. We're just hopefully providing a little bit of help going forward because, I'm just, I wouldn't want to hear it if I had 0 sales because I was shut down. So we completely understand. All right. So Becky brought up an interesting point as far as like going out to different markets. What I'm curious about from all of you guys, and we'll start with you, Stella, is there some segment that you're shooting during COVID that you found like, okay, I'm going to go back and start shooting more of that in 2021, or vice versa? Is there something that you tried during COVID and you're like, hell no, I'm quitting as soon as I can get back to my regular business?
Well, the only thing, like I had just mentioned before, was that, I'm just to mention, I'm actually down 75% for the year. All my huge leagues canceled on me. My smaller leagues all happened. So I was able to do some sports and that sort of thing. So that's why my pivot was, okay, who knows how much longer this is going to go on. Maybe it's time for me to now go after like travel baseball, travel basketball, and go after some of those smaller groups. So that's really the only thing that I've done, that I've done different. But I mean, I might be allowed.
Are you going to have time for that? Like, let's just say 2021 goes back to normal. Will you have time to do that? You think you'll stick with that, or do you think you'll just go back to where you were?
Well, we'll have to see. Everybody's businesses are evolving and they're changing, and you need to be able to evolve and change. There are a lot of leads that come from doing small groups. I mean, that's how I started when I was small. When I first started out, I grew because I did the 1 team or the 2 teams, and then was able to get the bigger leagues and that kind of thing. And so I kind of got away from doing the smaller. So I'm kind of going the reverse because of COVID, just to keep my name out there. And to, have something to do, because a lot of this is emotional for us because, we've been shut down on what we do. And, but I mean, as far as the big change that I did do, it was the final big push for me to go 100% PhotoDay, 100% online. Because yes, I was that person on the fence. I was the paper order form person. So there are positives to 2020 where it pushed me in a direction where I think is where I want to be, which I didn't think I wanted to be, but now I realize that this is the future, and I think it's a good thing. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a lot of experience here in Atlanta with the travel teams, and it really, for us, what the big difference in sales is how organized that team mom or coach is. The more organized that team mom or coach is, the better sales is typically. But I think what we do, we've been really successful because basically we shoot big leagues on the weekends, and then we shoot small travel teams during the week. And sometimes we shoot leagues during the week. But those small travel leagues are great because they're no rebates. The rebate's a big thing in Atlanta. So the fact that we can just get in there and we don't have to pay anybody is fantastic. I think Karina, what do you put for travel teams? You have to $350 minimum? I think is we set up some sort of minimum. I know you're really good at doing that, Stella. Yeah.
Well, if they purchase a banner, they usually purchase.
We do the banners like for baseball. But if they don't purchase a banner, then it's a $350 minimum. And if they invite another team, then
I can tell you that that is the one thing.
If they don't purchase a banner.
What's that?
Everybody on the team. Let's pretend there's 10 kids.
Yeah.
10 kids have to purchase the $35 pre.
The mini banner.
The advance credit if they don't purchase a banner or a mini banner. We're there just to take pictures.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody has to do the $35 prepay. If we're just taking individual photos, everybody has to do the prepay. And then if we do a mini banner, everybody has to buy the mini banner. And then, of course, the banners, that kind of excludes everything. So is it you're doing?
I was saying, and so what I did since I decided I'm going to go after, I was focusing on travel baseball first. I've started doing these flip books. So I just did my first travel baseball flip book, which includes banner samples, and it has all that in there. I'm going to put it, it's on my website right now. I have the other flip books that I need to work on for all the other sports that I want to customize to them. So that's the other thing I've been doing is working on different marketing and different forms of marketing. And I can just email this flip book now and they can just, all my information's right there. So I'm just trying to use different marketing techniques to get new business for next year. And since I usually don't have time to focus on creating these things, I'm working on that right now.
Right.
So.
Got it. That's a good book. I like the idea of the flip book. And if those of you who are just trying to get started, another great little marketing tip, which I did a lot of when I first started, was I would find out when the travel teams, they start practicing or when their regular scheduled practice was there, whenever that was. And I would go to the baseball park and I'd have some samples and I'd find the team mom for each team and be like, hey, my name is JF Smacks Photography. I'm pretty much turnkey. If you need banners, you need photos, you need website images, whatever you want, I'm turnkey. You don't have to worry about anything. And team moms that are dealing with their coaches, they do anytime anybody can take work off their hands because they're volunteers, they're all for it. So it's a good way to kind of get started. If you had a flip book like Stella has, it would be simple. Just walking out. Where's the team mom? Here's my flip book. These are all the services I can provide.
Right. So I have a digital and in print. So it's a brochure, digital and in print. So
where are you getting your flip book from?
Well, you know what? Sean Dement, so PSM Graphic, I used his templates, and then I used all my own players and some of my samples in there. But I will share with you that this is where I'm starting with targeting. Oh, it looks like I'm frozen, but anyway, I went to Facebook, and in Maryland, there's a Maryland travel baseball Facebook page, and I'm a member now. They let me in. So what's nice on there, it advertises where their tryouts are. Like they advertise their tryouts or that they need to. Yeah. You can get that information just on that page, or just searching like in your state for travel ball, whatever it is, baseball, whatever the travel teams are you're looking for. So that's where I'm finding my leads, and that's where I'm going next. I haven't started marketing it yet. I'm getting my collateral together, so that I have something to present. So.
Yeah, that's great, because I think even if you look at a league's Facebook page, the more organized that Facebook page and website page is, the better league it is in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, Brian, you're doing a lot of travel teams, correct?
I've got about
4 good sized ones that I do. I'm actually working this spring would have been, I would have had two from a completely different city that I'd yet to break into, was lined up. So I've been in constant contact trying to get back to them and, making sure that, this coming spring, we can still do those. I've got the biggest one I do right now is Mavericks, here in Springfield. And it's, they've gone from when I first started shooting them from about 60 players. They're up to 120, and they just added awesome. a 16U in high school set. So they've actually already booked me. So I'm set for March 4th to shoot them again. So that's they brought me another one. They brought me another team that another club that they play against. I have an in with the what is it? I want to call it the sports commission here in Springfield. They bring in and host all kinds of tournaments and stuff here. The president of this ball club that I work with is the president of the Springfield Sports Commission. So it helps to have that in. So I'm starting to get a little bit more communication through him, and my name's getting out there a little bit to other clubs. So it's just time to get out there and start beating the doors for baseball. So,
well, that's exactly what Stella was saying, though. Is you start off with one team, and if that thing grows, if that organization is organized and it grows, that's just like you didn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? You didn't have to go pick up another league. It's just automatically there for you. Can you quickly tell everybody a little bit about your basketball thing? Is that top secret, or is that something that you can share with us?
Oh, no, that I'm doing a 260 some odd kids basketball league. It's a more of a branding and promotion league. It's called the Future 50. It's Southwest Missouri Basketball Organization, and we did the photos about 3 weeks ago, and I've been a little busy since then. Some of you know some things have been going on here, but I'm not quite completely finished with it. But I'm not only just doing the photos for it, but I'm designing the promotional magazine that goes with it, and they use it as a recruiting tool to get these kids some scholarships and some have recruiters come out and take a look at them. So these are the 50 best players in each grade level or each graduating year, all the way down to middle school. So
so how many players is that? That's 200?
Yeah, about 265 is what I think I photographed. I think we had like 280 awesome. Sign up, but you never have them all show up. So, but finish.
Well, that's interesting though, because you have a little magazines you're doing, and you hopefully get the money out of it. But I think before PhotoDay, there was no good way to collect that money from individuals who wanted to see your photos. You got them from the magazine, but there was no good way. You don't want to have order forms there because that's not what it's all about, right?
I got paid to do the shoot. I charged a fee for that, and then I'm charging a fee to design the magazine, and then I'm also selling the photos in a gallery in PhotoDay. So I'll have three revenue streams out of one job. So
yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see. You have 260. I'm multiplying 260. You can have 200 orders times $60 an order, right? Should we get about 12 grand?
That's about $45 an order. I wish it was $60 an order. But yeah, there's some potential earning there if they go with it. But yeah, so hardest part right now is getting all those parents to opt in. So.
Oh yeah, well I don't know if others have experienced this, but basketball is kind of a tough one for organization wise. Like here in Atlanta, it's like kids jump from team to team to team every year. If they don't play, they go to this team, and everything's super unorganized. So it's basketball can be tough, I think, sometimes. I lost Brian again. Sue-Ann, are you going to do any sports? Or are you going to stick with
I'm
sports?
actually going to be doing some dance. So I'm not going to go into sports. But we're going to dabble and see what we can get for dance, because we can shoot preschools in the morning and shoot dance in the afternoon. So we're going to, so that's what we're heading.
Yeah, it sounds like a long day. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we lost
Becky
Becky
had to step
altogether.
out. She was on limited time too. No, it's
Oh,
fine.
okay,
It's
I didn't
fine.
know that.
But
I'm
I think
sorry.
the common thing that we're hearing,
Okay.
Jay, is that, the reason, I mean, everyone's been basically expanding the type of volume photography that you did, like stepping outside of your comfort zone almost. Like Becky mentioned, she was doing more school stuff. Stella, you want to get more into travel ball stuff. Sue Ann's going to dance. And Jay, I know you even photographed a school and some preschools up in your area too. So it's like everyone's branching out and doing different things, and Brian's doing more graphic work, just trying to figure it out. So
it's funny. I have to tell you a quick story about how I got to preschool. So I've known this lady forever. My kids, my 23-year-old went to this preschool, right? So I've known her forever. We've never done the photos for her, and she's a great family friend. And but she was very loyal to the other photographers. So during COVID, in the spring, she wanted to spray the kids down with Lysol before she took the photos. So, yes, they're like, that's it. We've had it. She was crazy. And so she had no online selling system, and she was super scared of COVID. And to the point where she wanted to sanitize the children before they came there. So we got that those 3 schools.
Wow,
so,
I hope she wasn't sanitizing the children. I'd be kind of mad as a parent. But there were times where my snotty toddler would come home from daycare and I'd want to spray her too.
Sure.
So I'm like, get in the bathtub, get in the bathtub, right in the bath. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the jury's still out. I'll see how those jobs go with the preschool, whether or not I'll continue to, keep going after preschools or not. They're a lot of fun. That's for sure.
They are a lot of work.
The one thing that I think is I think is super cool is like part of the vision when we created PhotoDay was, we didn't create it just for one type of photography. We started with sports. And then expanded into other areas and preschools and schools and dance. But the beautiful thing about it is before PhotoDay, I feel like my background's with a volume studio as well. And we were all different areas, from seniors to underclass to preschool to youth leagues and dance schools. And every single volume photography segment had a different workflow, completely different, and different software and a different thing, just diversifying because you can use the same solution. Sure. It's great.
Yep.
Well, I think like what Brian's basketball job, just to go back, I would never do that job before PhotoDay because, it's just it's a lot of work, and it's, typically the magazine doesn't want to pay you for the actual time that you put forward. But the thing is, he's got 265 kids, and he's got 50 per age or what, there's a lot of contacts he's going to make, and he gets to show his work to all those different
photo under the basket. That was it. That was all they got. And they got a digital photo of it included in their registration for the, publication. And so, well,
that's it. I got 2 more good ones, I think, Lisa. Okay. We got time.
Yeah, you got time.
Okay. All right. So, y'all know I love gear. So I want to talk about gear for a second.
Do what you want, Jay.
What do you? Yeah. Okay. So 2021. I'd like to know. See, everybody here has got successful businesses, so it should be good info here. What gear do you plan on purchasing for 2021? Now, it doesn't have to be photography gear. It could be a trailer. It could be something for the studio, like whatever. What do you have your eye on for 2021? I'm curious. All right, let's start with you, Stella.
Well, I need to finally go mirrorless. I was planning after your boot camp last December, a year ago. I wanted to buy it with my spring revenue. I wanted to buy new cameras and redo, but I was like, no, I can't spend a dime. And honestly, I have not spent a dime on anything that isn't something that isn't just sustaining my business. I'm down 75%. There is no extra money this year. So I need to, my equipment still works. My lights still work. My cameras, I use Canon 5D Mark IIs. I use the Alien Bs. I'd love to go to the Godox and do all that. And I really wanted to do that, but we got shut down so quickly,
This is just a wish list though. This is Christmas time. This is a wish list.
So I think that new Canon, what is it? The
R6.
R5?
Well, R5 or R6.
Well,
I think R6 better suited for us.
Yeah. So if COVID didn't happen, I probably would be all geared up with that. And yeah, it's basically mainly cameras and lights, just to kind of change it up a little bit. So that's what I wanted to do, but hopefully next year.
So Godox and mirrorless are your two wish lists. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Suzanne, what about you?
Oh, I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I was kind of the same. After I saw yours, I'm like, oh, I got really envious, and I'm like, I really like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I think that's our next step, is to get the mirrorless cameras. So I think that's on our wish list. But
that's what Bonnie just said in the chat too. She said Canon R6.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are purchasing that camera. I got a story about that camera in just a second. But Brian, what about you? Wish list only. I know it may not be the time, but to spend money.
Well, I'd love an R5 with the 85 they came out with, or even the 70 to 200. That'd be great. But I'm looking at adding more Godox lights to my system. However, during that 260 person shoot, probably the 600 Pro or the 400 Pro.
Okay.
Since I shoot most of my stuff indoors, I don't have to fight light a lot, so
Right.
I really don't need the wattage.
Right.
But I had a radio issue, believe it or not, with the Godox in that facility. There had to be, it was near a truck stop, and I think all the CB radio traffic that was there was screwing with the lights, because half the time they'd fire on their own, half the time they'd fire for me, and the rest they wouldn't fire at all. So
wow,
I had a lot of black images to go through. So it was really
that
frustrating for a while.
Frustrating. That is so frustrating.
And I've never had that happen before.
R6s.
I've been using these things for 3 years.
Bill's got an R6 last week. Bill just chimed in on the chat. He got an R6. Everyone's doing it. And look, Bob's ordered one too. R6.
Let's see. Yeah, I got to. So, okay, I'll tell you about that. But the about the Godox, one thing, if you guys are considering Godox, you have to really think long term, because you have to look at the mounts, because the 400 Pro and the 600 Pro have different mounts. Okay, so when you're buying soft boxes, you have to really. You don't want to buy a bunch of soft boxes and then they don't, if you have a 400 and 600, they don't match up. So just be careful and really do your research and find out exactly what you need, what mounts you need, and also batteries. You have to think about batteries, because I have all 600 Pros just because I wanted the same batteries, and I don't want to get the 400 just because that's another battery. That's not the same. So it's a whole lot easier for you to buy, make sure if you buy one, just kind of stick with that, because the mounts are not the same. 400 Pro is different than 600 Pro on the mount. So if you buy the 400 Pro, you have to buy all the little brackets with it. So just a little something for the Godox stuff. But the R6, I bought the R6. So I have a Fuji, I have a Lumix, and I have a Canon. So I have a lot of experience with the mirrorless world. I don't have Nikon, because Nikon didn't have a dual card slot, but I know they just came out with their camera as well. But I shot a basketball video a couple of days ago, and I shot with 7200, and I just wanted to get some like B-roll type footage, and I held the camera in my hand, and it looked like it was on a gimbal. It has 8 stops of vibration reduction on it, and it was amazing that I could hand hold a 7200 camera and move it around like this and still get usable video coverage. Why that's important for photography: when you're holding that camera on the ground or sideways or whatever way you want to hold it, you still get tack sharp images even at 2.8. So that is a badass camera, I have to say. There's some stuff about the Lumix that I like better than I like the flip out screen better on the Lumix than I do the Canon, but that image stabilization for the Canon is pretty remarkable.
Well, Brad chimed in. He's gonna get the Lumix SR1. That's what he wants. That's on his wish list.
Yeah, me and Brad both have a bunch of Lumix. Well, I have a bunch of Lumix, and I do love my Lumix. And they just came out with the update. Supposedly their autofocus is supposed to be better now, but we'll see. But I like both. I like both brands, and the Fuji is what I'm using right now. It's great for video. So you'll find something good with all the systems, but it seems like that R6 is kind of leading the way right now. Okay,
hey folks, I'm gonna have to bounce. I'm pushing the limit already. So,
all right, thanks, Brian.
All right,
thanks for the time today.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, buddy.
Yep, we'll talk later. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, and I have a business question for you ladies. So I've been talking to Lisa a lot about a number that I've been coming up with in order to measure sales. And I basically call it sales per athlete. So, or it could be per student, so, and however you want to do it. And it's just simply dividing how many kids show up for photo day, right? And then by your sales. And what that does for me is it lets me compare year to year, whether paper order forms or online sales, because the online sales, you can get these big $150 orders, but it might be of 2 kids. So it doesn't really, the average order doesn't really make sense compared to paper order forms. Right. So I found that way, if you just take how many kids show up and what your sales are, divide that number, you have a number that's comparable across all platforms. Right. So what I'm curious is, how do you guys compare your sales each year? How do you keep up with it? Do you keep accurate numbers so you can compare year to year? And of course, how are you doing with photo day compared to your paper order forms?
Well, we were doing like hybrid last year. So the way I was keeping track of it, I just basically an Excel sheet and comparing the two. But now that it's all photo day, I'm just basically keeping track of each school and their sales. But I have the number of kids and what the revenue is, and that's what I'm dividing.
Number of the kids you photographed, or number of kids at the school?
Number of kids we photographed.
Okay. And what's in your world of preschool? Like what's a good school? I mean, do you measure it in? Of course, you probably measure it in sales, but number of kids. Like, what do you go after for? Like, okay, that's going to be a good school. We're going to make a lot of money on that.
Well, it's more than just that, because you can have a school that has 100 kids. You can have us over here, and then a school that has 100 kids over here. But this school is a higher end income area, and this school isn't. And then you've got the same numbers, but the sales over here are going to be lower for obvious reasons. But then on the flip side, you can have a school that has like both parents are working, so they're like middle class, but they're not, close to the higher end, whatever. But they're going to buy all their pictures, because they're both working and so forth. So it's more economic to the area. So we look at that. We look at the number of students. We look at the organization of the school too. Because if you have a director that's not organized, your sales are going to suck because they're not communicating to their parents.
I think that might be more important than the actual, the average income of the area.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
Huge part. I've noticed all the ones that are old school, they don't even have rosters typed up. So we have to, to get a roster from them. They'll take a picture of their handwritten roster and send it to us, and we have to type it in for them. Right. Because they're not computer savvy just to fill out the sample one we send them. So yeah, it makes a huge difference at the organization of the school. But we look at all of that when we're looking at schools,
trying to figure out which one's going to be a good one.
Right.
All right. So Stella, then I think this is a good question for you. So you have you have a good potential program, but you recognize that they're unorganized. What do you do in that case? What sort of marketing do you do to make sure that shoot's going to be successful?
So regardless of whether it's sports or schools, schools, there's like Sue Ann said, the good indicator is that you get the information that you need and it's communicated in an effective way to the parents, whether it's through their weekly newsletters or posted to their Facebook page, which is something that you can check on and that kind of thing to make sure it's up there and that kind of thing. Because definitely communication is key to getting the best results, besides obviously good photography and things like that.
Now, wait a second. You say if you check on the school's Facebook page and newsletter and you make sure that your photography stuff is in there. If it's not, you give them a call?
Yeah. So what I do, I don't necessarily get the school newsletter. They don't necessarily send me that. I do craft the message that I want them to put in there so that they're not misinforming or they don't miss something. So I said, please insert this information and this website link information and my contact information in your newsletter, so that kind of thing. Sometimes, yeah, and then in the Facebook page, which is usually a mom, or the PTA or somebody, president or somebody, communications director or whatever with the Parent Teacher Association, which will do a lot of communication in the Facebook. So that one's easy to see that it's in there. And that's what sports leagues too. It's very easy to go to their Facebook page and like, hey, September 24th is photo day. And in the past, they'd have the order form attached. Now with PhotoDay, now they say, when I was doing public galleries, they'd give them the code. Now I get the emails, and I use the flyers that are set up with PhotoDay to send out to all the parents about what their private code is and that sort of thing. So I really love the new flyer system, and the fact that this year being a COVID year, schools and sports, I only had one school out of all my sports and schools that would not give me parent emails. Everybody else gave me their emails. So it was great because I could take advantage of the flyers, the marketing flyers set up in PhotoDay that I could just uniquely send out to those parents that have their kids' access codes with the promos involved and everything. So the key is just really communication. But as far as like with sports, with figuring out how much money is, how much are they spending? Schools is easy because you have a not shot list, or you see which kids were absent that you didn't photograph out of the total number. And then you can look at your total sales to see, was this a good school, as far as your average sales. Right. With sports, it's a little more difficult. The only way that I do it is because, even though they say, okay, we photographed 20 teams. Well, there's not always 100% participation. So the way I did it when I did my calculations for my Sync Sports Conference that I did in the spring was I just counted every kid on every team photo. So that I could get an accurate number. Like we photographed, it was 325 kids total in all these teams. And this was my total sales. And that was the sales number that I spoke about, and that was the number that I used because I felt that was the real number.
That's the accurate number, right? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Funny way with sports to figure it out, other than counting the number of kids
that show up on PhotoDay. Yeah.
There's just no other way.
Yeah, you get a lot of photographers out there that really like to fudge their numbers, how many people they shot and what their averages are, this, that, and the other. But I think you're right. The only way to really actually measure is count the team photo. Our team photographer has, the list of the team. They write an image number to make sure that we got that team. And then beside that, how many players were photographed. So that way at the end of the shoot, we can just go down and say, okay, we shot 250 kids that day. And then we have to wait for the sales to come in to see how that league performed.
Right. That's like probably my absolute favorite part of the PhotoDay dashboard is seeing your sales numbers and holding yourself accountable. Like you're like, oh, what did I do? Like, how do I fix it?
Yes, absolutely.
How do I make this better next time? Why aren't people buying my photos? And then it like forces you to really go back over what you did to get better for the next time. And then it just keeps getting better and better and better. So it's just a lot easier to see that where the
and that's what I was telling you before here. I just did those calculations. So I had my sports leagues and my schools. Well, my sports leagues this past fall, since COVID, I did everything with Next Gen. So everybody was composited with sports, but I didn't have multiple poses and a lot of multiple backgrounds with using Next Gen. So let's just, for the most part, parents had 5 different images to pick from. My schools, on the other hand, had 10 different images. It was 2 poses and 5 different backgrounds that I had composited. So I was figuring this out, but my average order, and this is approximate, for schools was $58 an order. And that was all my schools' total average orders added up.
Is that elementary or is that underclass?
Yeah, it's elementary. A couple of my schools have to 8th grade, but most of them are just till 5th grade, whatever. But my sports was only $45. So what's the difference there? Well, the difference was they had less images to buy. They had less choices. That's how I looked it. When I look at the difference, well, what's the difference? Because a lot of these kids I photograph in the morning for schools, and I photograph in the evening for sports. So, and it could be that they already bought schools, so they're not going to buy enough. But I think it's really the quantity of images and the number of poses and images that they had from that made the difference.
So do you sell 8x10s for the same or similar price on both types of volume, like your sports 8x10 and your school 8x10? Are they priced similar?
They're similar. Sports are a little higher because I'm doing the compositing. Doing the green screen and extraction isn't as expensive as paying next gen. So, but the graphics and the photos are cooler than the school photo, because the school photo is, kind of traditional. I have a few different backgrounds, but so it could be a couple of different factors. But for me, I look at the difference in the number of images, and I think, most of my sales are higher because parents bought a package and then they added on a magnet and they added on another 5x7 of a different pose, or that kind of thing. So they had all these additional things that they added on, and which they didn't have that available really with the sports. So but now next gen offers more multiple poses. So I'm excited to finally hopefully get back to work in the spring and test that out and see how that goes with giving the parents a little bit more variety.
All right. That's interesting. All right. We got time for one more question. Are we supposed to go an hour? Is that how we're
You can go one more if you want another question, Jay.
Okay.
It's all you.
Yeah, I'm
and
interested.
then we can sign off. Brian's in the chat now.
Okay, got you. Okay, I am interested in what you plan. Like, one thing doesn't necessarily have to be photography, but I don't want to get too personal. What is your what are you going to get better at in 2021? Stella.
Answer, because I can't wait for February 5th, because I went to your boot camp, and like I said, I didn't get the Canon, I didn't get the lights, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be like Smack's photography. I want to do a different level of photography. Well, I do traditional, with a hair light stuff. I do green screen, I do the white screen. So I need to do the lower angle, photography. I haven't implemented it. So that is what I want to do. And that's what I'm excited about coming in February, because I'm like, okay, I want to get there. So
February, yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for that.
With travel teams, if I do that, I can get better at that. And then with a smaller group like that, like not with a huge travel league, I might be able to actually implement it, do a good job, and, get that side of my business going.
Absolutely. Well, this boot camp sold out, but we'll be doing another one. We have some exciting things happening at PhotoDay, so it'll make it a little bit easier to pull them off. So more about that soon. All right, Sue Ann. What do you think?
I think we're going to be doing more. I don't even know how to word it. We're expanding our prop and poses to add more variety to our galleries.
All right, more variety to your galleries.
Yeah, add more. I mean, right now we do pretty good at adding, but we're going to add different types of photos to the.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's just what Stella just said, right? That's the one thing that she found that she
creating more images.
She created more images.
More inventory. More inventory.
Yeah, and I got a comment at that to wrap it up and say, all right, Lisa, we're excited. I'm excited. I know Lisa's almost perfect. She's so close. So I'm not quite sure if there's any room for improvement. But what are you going to do better in 2021, Lisa?
Well, I think what we're planning to do at PhotoDay is we have some new features behind the scenes that we've been discussing, and what are we going to engineer that's going to be awesome in 2021. And of course, we've analyzed a lot of data. We've done a ton of research, and we're still rolling out these few landmark features now with all of our labs, like live preview, custom themes, backgrounds, and then bulk shipping. That was our big 2020, right? Those were things we needed so you can put all different types of jobs in PhotoDay. But what we really want to focus in 2021 is the complete customer experience, your customer, making sure that we're meeting their expectations and exceeding their expectations in a lot of cases, as well as more tools that, and the most I can tell you guys is we will give you more tools to allow you to get out from behind the computer. So that's the exciting part. I can't give too much away, but we are, we know you guys love taking photos, and that's where it's at. We know the least favorite thing that most studios don't like to do is sit behind the desk for hours and hours and hours, whether it's editing, whether it's workflow and submissions and all that stuff. And we truly want you to be hands-free and get out there and just do what you love doing, which is creating images. So we have some exciting things in the works that will be announced early in 2021. So stay tuned for that.
No pressure, Rainer, on that whole list of things.
No pressure. So
yeah. Okay, I definitely think my goal for 2021 is just going to be training my own photographers. We do a lot of training, but I want to be really good. I want to be like Sue-Ann, where I can be an assistant and I shoot everything. And so I've gotten a really great one. So I'm so excited to have one where I could just like halfway through the day, I can just like give her the camera and be done with it. So that's fantastic. So I want to have 2 more. So that's kind of my goal in 2021. All right. Quick tip, since we've been behind on tip of the week, and I'm a little bit embarrassed. Maybe you more experienced photographers are better at this, but as the ladies were saying, that the best thing, the easiest way to increase sales is to take more photos or more different photos. And what we got really good at this year was the buddy photo. The buddy photo is always for me really tough because we like to shoot at wide open apertures. We like to shoot at 2.8. So if you shoot at 2.8 and you shoot a buddy shot like that, oftentimes one person is going to be a little bit soft. So you have to be really careful with that. And especially if you get 3 or 4 or 5 people in the photo, then you can't shoot at 2.8. And so it's really hard, especially like we do these little videos before each league, and we encourage people to do buddy photos. So if you're doing buddy photos, especially Sue-Ann, we had some experience with that in Florida, right? Like how hard it is. Like buddy, you got to change the settings. I was fumbling with the camera, and it's tough to switch apertures and all that sort of thing on the fly because you have buddy photo, single photo, buddy photo, single photo. It can go every other one, so it's really tough to keep track of everything. So with the mirrorless camera, I was just kind of messing around with it one day, and I realized, let's see if you guys. This is the R6, by the way. It's really pretty camera, and it's very small. It's a 70 to 200. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see, but you see these little buttons right here? Does it pop up? Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, everybody probably has one. It's custom 1 and custom 2. All right? And I never messed with those buttons like an idiot for the last.
Look, Brian's calling you out right now.
Oh my gosh.
He uses them.
It's like, so all I have to do now is I keep my camera at custom 1, and it's 2.8. It's ISO 160, I think. Shutter speed of 200. I just keep it there. And then when a buddy shot comes on, I put it on custom 2, and it changes all my aperture settings. So I was able to, it goes to 4, raise the ISO, and everything is set. Before I was doing that every time manually on my camera, and I would forget sometimes, and it was a whole huge pain. So when a buddy shot came up, I was like, oh my gosh, another buddy. But now I got everything kind of streamlined, and it's been so much better. And all of our big packages, the big ones that get over $200, pretty much 100% of them have some sort of buddy shot in there. So improving on the buddy shot was really important. And that little custom button was super important. So if you guys have that little custom feature on your camera, utilize that if you're shooting at wide open apertures. I know Brian shoots at 5.6, he says, but he's shooting green screen. So we're shooting outside. If you're a volume photographer, they put you in some pretty bad places, right, Stella? So you have zero background. I'm sure preschool may be the same way if you're outside, like zero background. So the only way to make it look decent is by shooting wide open apertures. So anyways, another important thing about the mirrorless cameras is you can shoot wide open apertures, and the autofocus is so good that you won't have anything out of focus. So it's tough on those older cameras, those DSLRs, to shoot at 2.8 and not come up with soft images. Am I right, ladies? Is that scared to shoot at 2.8?
I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't be back for another webinar until January, but we have some exciting new programming coming out that we are working on. We're taking the time to get that all hammered out for you guys, and look forward to bringing some more education, more ideas, and more inspiration in 2021. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.